Welcome back. Hopefully you've watched the first video on solving systems of equations with the elimination method. This is just part 2. It's going to take it maybe 1 or 2 steps further, but the concept will still be exactly the same. So let's go ahead and look at a couple examples. The first one says solve the following system of equations by eliminating the x first. We're going to go ahead and get rid of the x first. If you remember from the last video, what we're trying to do is we're trying to eliminate a variable. So suppose you see a 10x. In order to cancel it out, you need a negative 10x. We want to see the same number, but we want one of them positive and one of them negative. That way when you add them together, it becomes 0 and they eliminate. So let's go ahead and look at the x variable first here. We see a 2x and a 3x. If you add those together, you get 5x. They're not going to eliminate. But what we can do is we can manipulate them and turn them into the same number. And you might be wondering, well, what number should I turn them into? That's the easy part. All we have to do is take 2 and multiply it by 3. And that tells us what number we can turn them into. I can turn them both into a 6. So let's go ahead and turn them both into a 6. I'm going to take the top row, and we're going to multiply it by a 3. And we're going to take that 3 and we're going to multiply it to the entire row. So 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times a plus 5y, that'll give us plus 15y. And 3 times 43 gives us 129. Now if this is a 6x, in order to cancel it out, I need to see the opposite of it. I need to see a negative 6x. So what could you multiply that whole bottom row by to make it a negative 6x? So what number times 3x would make it a negative 6x? That's right, it's a negative 2. So we're going to put a negative 2 in that parentheses, and we're going to multiply to the entire row. Negative 2 times 3x, that gives us this negative 6x. Negative 2 times negative 2y gives us a plus 4y. And negative 2 times negative 2 gives us a positive 4. Then what we're going to do is just add these two rows together. And hopefully you see why we did that whole process, because when we add 6x and negative 6x, they're eliminated. They cancel each other out. It's why it's called the elimination method. And if we add these, we get 19y. Add these, we get 133. Divide by 19. And we have now found that y is equal to 7. To solve for x, you can choose either the top one or the bottom one. I'm just going to choose the top one because there's no negatives. So we have 2x plus 5y is equal to 43. I know that the value of y is 7, so we'll replace that. And I'm going to go through the rest of this pretty quickly because I don't think you need too much of my help for the rest of this process. You can always slow down the video at any time to go through the steps individually. Now we get 2x equals 8. Let's just finally divide it, and we have found that x is equal to 4. Don't forget to write your answer as a coordinate. The x coordinate is 4. The y coordinate is 7. And there is your solution, 4, 7. So all we did was we turned these x's into a 6x and a negative 6x, and they were eliminated. Let's go ahead and do one more example just to make sure you're comfortable with it. Again, we're going to eliminate the x first. So I see this 4x and I see a minus 5x. What number could you possibly turn them into? You could take 4 and multiply it by 5, and we now know that we can turn them both into a 20. So we're going to go ahead and turn them both into a 20. In order to make it a 20, that top row has to multiply by 5. And we're going to take 5 and distribute it all the way through. 5 times 14. Sometimes kids will forget to multiply it by this last number here. Make sure you multiply it to the whole row, and that gives us a 70. Now, if we see a 20x, in order to cancel it out, in order to eliminate it, this bottom one has to be negative 20x. So what number could you multiply that bottom row by? So when you multiply these together, it makes a negative 20x. All right, I hear you. That's a 4. So we're going to take a 4 and multiply it to the entire row. 4 times negative 5x is negative 20x. That's what we wanted. 4 times a positive 2y, that gives us an 8y. And 4 times 40 is 160. And you can see what happens to these x's. They're gone. They're eliminated. And we're left with 23y equals 230. And then we'll just divide by 23, which gives us a y value of 10. If you want to solve for x, which I know you do, pick the top one or the bottom one. I'm going to pick the top. So we have 4x plus 3y equals 14. We know that the value of y is 10, so let's substitute that. And then just simplify and solve. And again, I'll do this pretty quickly because I don't think you need much of my help anymore. So we get 4x equals negative 16, and finally if you divide by 4, we get an x value of negative 4. So our final answer, negative 4 and 10. So now it's your turn to try. Go ahead and do the next one on your own. Once again, you are going to be eliminating the x first. So what you're going to be doing is you are going to eliminate these x's first. What number could you turn them into? So go ahead and try it on your own. When you are done, unpause the video, come on back, and we're going to eliminate some y's. Hopefully you're starting to get the hang of this process. We're going to do the exact same thing, but now we're going to solve the following systems of equations, and this time we're going to eliminate the y variable first. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first example. Here's our y variables. We have a 7y and a negative 3y. What number could you turn them both into? We can just take 7, multiply it by 3, and we can turn them both into a 21. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to multiply the top row by 3. And if you take the 3 and distribute it all the way through, we get 12x plus 21y is equal to 75. Now, if this is a 21y, in order to cancel it out and in order to eliminate them, I need to see a negative 21y. So what number could I multiply this by to make it equal negative 21? That's right, it's a 7. So we're going to take a 7 and distribute it to the entire row. 7 times negative 2x is a negative 14x. 7 times negative 3y is negative 21y. That's what we wanted. And 7 times negative 11 is negative 77. Then we will simply add the rows together, and you will see that the y's have disappeared. It becomes 0y. They're gone. They're eliminated. 12x and negative 14x, if you add them together, it's a negative 2x. And 75 and a negative 77, add them together, you get a negative 2. So we'll just divide both sides by negative 2, which gives us x equals 1. To solve for y, we can just plug it into the top. So we have 4x plus 7y equals 25. And I'm going to replace the x with a 1. So we have 4 times 1 plus 7y is 25. Then just simplify and solve. You can probably do a lot of these steps in your head. Math teachers love it when you show your work. Divide by 7, and we get a y of 3. So your final answer in this case would be 1, 3. One more example, just to make sure we get the hang of this. Again, we're going to solve the system of equations by eliminating the y first. We're going to get rid of the y coordinate first. So I'm looking at these y's. We're going to get rid of those first. What number could you turn them both into? 3 times 5. That's a 15. I'm going to turn them both into a 15. So let's go ahead and make them a 15. For the top row, I'm going to multiply it by a 3. And we're going to take that 3 and distribute it all the way through. 3 times 3x is 9x. 3 times negative 5y is a minus 15y. And 3 times 57, 3 times 50 is 150. 3 times 7 is 21. Add them together and you get 171, hopefully. Now, in order to eliminate y, if this is a negative 15y, to cancel it out, I need a plus 15y. That's what's going to cancel each other out. So what number could I multiply this by to make it equal a positive 15y? What number goes out here? I don't hear you. It's going to be a negative 5. And if I take a negative 5 times negative 3y, it becomes positive 15y, which is what we're looking for. Let's distribute that to the entire row. Negative 5 times 2x, that's going to give you negative 10x. Negative 5 times negative 3y is a positive 15y. And negative 5 times 35 is negative 175. Now we're going to add the rows together. The y's will go away. 9x and negative 10x becomes negative 1x. 171 and negative 175 is negative 4. When you see this, just divide by negative 1, and we've found that x is equal to 4. You can choose the top one or you can choose the bottom one. Sorry, you're going to deal with some negatives either way. Let's use the bottom one. So 2x minus 3y is equal to 35. We do know that the value of x is 4, so let's go ahead and replace x with a 4. Multiply and you get an 8. To get rid of this 8, we have to subtract it on both sides. Make sure you drop down the negative with 3y. So it's negative 3y equals a positive 27. Divide by negative 3. And we found that y equals negative 9. So your final answer is going to be 4, negative 9. So you have one more to do on your own. Once again, we want you to eliminate the y first. So in this case, you're going to be looking at this 4y and 6y. What could you turn them both into? For this week, your password is going to be whoopee. It means you're happy. You say whoopee because you're done with this assignment. So there's your password for this one. When you're all done, go ahead and submit your answers to Schoology and have it check your work. There is a quiz that you can work on sometime before the end of the week. And then we are done with elimination, and we'll review it next week for you. So thanks for tuning in. See you next week where we can review a little bit.